Peeps, we are home from Star Wars Celebration Orlando. We hope you had a good time watching our videos. We had a great time filming them and being there at Star Wars Celebration. Had a really awesome time hanging out with Kyle and Mary and Jesse and everyone else that we had a good time with and the people we ran into. Thanks to everyone who walked up, said hi. Really enjoyed Star Wars Celebration. Just wanted to report in with some final thoughts, but first thing we're going to do is I'm going to show you guys the merchandise that I picked up at Star Wars Celebration, and just kind of show you some of the Star Wars Celebration exclusives, maybe unbox one or two, get you to, a good peek at them. First thing I want to show you guys is this bad boy. Remember how, if you have seen the videos from Star Wars Celebration, you know that I tried to get this from the ThrillGeek booth, and unfortunately they sold out when I tried, but it was available online. It's no longer available online, but I was able to get one while they still had them. It is the Jabba the Hutt and Salacious Crumb Geeky Tiki set. Celebration exclusive, 2017. Let's see, on the back it has all the other Tiki's mugs that they make. Let's take a quick look inside this guy. Let's see what he looks like in the flesh, as it were. So here is Salacious Crumb. He's like a little shot glass. Just says Star Wars Geeky Tikis. So here's Salacious Crumb. This, I believe, well, they were both, I think, the Celebration exclusive set. Here is Jabba the Hutt. How cool is that? So the inside, I don't know if you can see that, it does wrap all the way down, so you can kind of fill it up all the way. These are awesome, and if they ever open up a Star Wars themed restaurant or bar, they should definitely have these mugs available there. Kind of like they have the Indiana Jones themed bar at Jock Lindsay's and Trader Sam's with the themed tiki mugs. Star Wars themed tiki mugs available in a Star Wars themed bar. Wouldn't that be awesome? I love these guys. Look at Jabba. Ho, ho, ho. Alright, what else did I get? From the Hasbro booth at Star Wars Celebration, I picked up this Luke Skywalker X-Wing pilot Celebration exclusive action figure. I believe it was Celebration exclusive. It doesn't actually say that anywhere on it, but I believe it was. It was the hot seller there. The only thing it actually has is this 40th anniversary Star Wars thing. But, so, there's the back of that. I know it's kind of hard to read because it's all shiny. And there he is, Luke Skywalker X-Wing pilot. From the actual Star Wars Celebration store, I picked up this t-shirt. It's actually a Her Universe t-shirt, but it's unisex. And it is the Dave Filoni storyboard art for Ahsoka versus Darth Vader. It was released as a special edition Star Wars Celebration exclusive t-shirt. I believe it was a Celebration exclusive, but at least it was released at the show. And it's unisex cut. And so, being the Star Wars Rebels fan that I am, I really had to have this shirt. Huge fan of Dave Filoni. Huge fan of Ahsoka. She's one of my favorite Star Wars characters in general, not just Expanded Universe. So that was a cool find. I knew I wanted to have that t-shirt. And speaking of t-shirts, I also picked this up from the Disney Parks booth at Star Wars Celebration. The Star Wars Last Jedi t-shirt. This is the male version. I picked up the female shirt for Jen. And so they announced at the panel, which, if you haven't seen that video, go back, check out the Star Wars Disney Parks merchandise video that we released. They said this was the first retail merchandise released for Star Wars Last Jedi. It's not Celebration exclusive. It's actually available in Disney Parks now, but it was released first at Star Wars Celebration. Couple of other goodies from that Ireland booth that was at the Star Wars Celebration. I picked up this pen, the Ireland tourist people pen, I guess, tourism. And so if you remember, if you haven't seen the video, if you pull out from the pen, it's got this like little scroll inside of it that shows Ireland shooting locations for Star Wars Episode 8. And on the back, it shows Skellig Michael, which was the filming location for the end of Star Wars Episode 7. I also picked up This was actually a free giveaway at the Nissan booth. The Nissan booth, celebrating their Nissan Rogue. It's got a little shiny on it. So it is the Star Wars Rogue One keychain. I already opened this one, but I'm going to open it and show you guys this cool keychain. It is a Death Trooper helmet. It is kind of not something I'm going to want to put in my pocket, but there that guy is. Look at that. Look at my giant hand. But I love the look of the Death Troopers. I really wanted this keychain. They were giving them out at the show. It actually says Celebration exclusive on the box, but not anywhere on the actual keychain. But this is a cool keychain. A couple of freebies that I got at the show are this Del Rey sampler featuring chapters from either current or upcoming Star Wars novels. It looks like it has Thrawn, Bloodline, Aftermath, Blade Squadron, Catalyst, Rogue One, Star Wars Aftermath, Empire's End, and a couple of short stories. So a bunch of cool stuff in there. And on the other side, it looks like it has some fantasy book previews as well. Another freebie, I showed you this previously, Star Wars Battlefront 2 Inferno Squadron patch. This is the logo of Inferno Squadron. Except it says, obviously, Star Wars Celebration 2017. They gave this out free to anyone who attended the panel. When they announced Battlefront 1 at Star Wars Celebration Anaheim 2015, they gave out t-shirts. This time, they gave out this awesome patch. When the Star Wars show was filming, the host came out into the audience, a bunch of people actually came out into the audience and handed out these buttons. CH33Z, it's a mouse droid. It was crazy. This guy was just like walking around a crowd and everyone's just like holding their hand out and he's just sticking pins in it. It was interesting to watch. But I was one of them and I got this pin. So there you go. Perhaps my favorite exclusive of Star Wars Celebration Orlando was from Kotobukiya, and it is this BT and 000 Celebration exclusive model kit, snap fit artifacts item. I love BT and 000. If you are not reading the Star Wars Dr. Aphra comic from Marvel Comics, it's written by Kieran Gillen. It is art by Kev Walker. These characters were created by Kieran Gillen and artist Salvador LaRocca as part of the Star Wars Darth Vader series. Also, absolutely worth checking out. They are murder droids. They are basically the evil, malicious R2-D2 and C-3PO. I love these characters. I love reading about them. The fact that they have now produced merchandise featuring these characters, I love it. And as soon as they announced this at the Kotobukiya panel, I guess regarding Star Wars high-end merchandise, I went straight to the booth and picked it up. You can see right here, Star Wars Celebration exclusive. It also has this coin that you can probably just barely see because of the glare. Inside, some images on the back. And over here, BT. 1/10 scale pre-painted model kit. I am super psyched to have this. Really looking forward to setting this guy up. So, just a disclaimer before I go into my thoughts about Star Wars Celebration. We were invited media guests of Star Wars Celebration from ReedPop and Lucasfilm. Thank you guys for having us. As always, for anyone watching our videos, you know we always give you our honest opinions. So I'm going to kind of hit this from two angles. I'm going to talk about the pros and the cons, the things I really liked, and the things that were improvement opportunities for future Star Wars Celebration events. I talked about this on iomgeek.com before going to the convention, and one of the things I talked about is that if you are going to go to a Star Wars Celebration, you have to be prepared for crowds. You have to understand that you are just not going to get to everything you want to go to. You are not going to get everything you want to get, unless maybe you purchase the VIP pass. But even, people ask me, what does the media pass get you? The media pass is just basically entry to the event. It doesn't get me in early. It doesn't get me into any panels necessarily other than Rebels, which we talked about previously, but it's not any type of special treatment. It is just access to the show. Let's talk about some of the positive things that happened during the show. I want to start with talking about Hasbro. Hasbro had multiple ways of getting their products. They had the first 2 days. They had tickets that they gave out in the morning that basically guaranteed you a spot in line, or a time slot to return back and get your toy. And in addition to that, they had a huge booth, a huge presence that showed classic toys, new toys, upcoming toys. They unveiled the new Admiral Thrawn action figure, Black Series action figure, coming to San Diego Comic-Con. In comparison to the Funko booth that I'm going to get to here in a minute, they had a ton of stuff, and because of the ticket, I was able to get this bad boy, this X-Wing Luke that I just showed you. Disney's booth was one of my favorites of the celebration. In fact, it was probably the best run of celebration. I never waited more than a couple of minutes to get anything that I wanted. In fact, I visited the booth 3 times. I picked up a t-shirt, I picked up 2 t-shirts, and I picked up a hat that if you check out the Star Wars Celebration videos, you'll see me wearing. They had a list of items for sale. They had prices clearly marked. They had plenty of product for sale. Huge booth, easy to see. They didn't necessarily have anything to look at. It was pretty much just a merchandise booth, but the merchandise was good. And I gotta be honest, I liked the merchandise there more than I liked the merchandise at the Celebration store itself. The Star Wars Battlefront 2 panel. The trailer leaked online before actually being unveiled at Star Wars Celebration, but the one they showed at Celebration was not only longer, they also released more information and video of the game. It looks amazing. They showed the lead actress playing the main character. In Battlefront 2, they unveiled that other actors, including Paul Blackthorne from the Dresden Files and Arrow, is going to be in the game. They didn't have a booth at the show, which I thought was odd because they had such a huge booth at Star Wars Celebration Anaheim. But I think it was just a matter of, maybe the fact that the panel was on Saturday and they didn't want to show anything before then. I don't know. But regardless, it was an awesome presentation. Lucasfilm was in attendance talking about how Battlefront 2 plays into Star Wars canon. They talked about the single player a lot because that was something hugely missing from the original Battlefront, and as well as talking about the multiplayer enhancements, and really seems like they learned from the first one, listened to fans, and made improvements to the second. We have a whole video about the Star Wars Rebels panel. Check that out, but I loved that panel. It was an hour and a half long, and they showed not only the first trailer for Season 4, they showed an episode from Season 4, and they announced that Season 4 would be the final season. I thought it was a little interesting that they announced that more guests would be there than actually were. They said Sam Witwer, Sarah Michelle Gellar, and a couple of other voices would be there, and they only really featured the main cast. That being said, it was a great panel. Tons of love for the fans, tons of new information, and excitement about what's coming in Season 4. The Disney Parks panel. I didn't expect much out of this, gotta be honest with you. But the fact that they not only had a long not Anthony Daniels showed up, right? And they talked about the creation of Star Tours for quite a bit, and I loved that part of it. And in fact, we showed most of that in our video, so check that out. But we actually got new information and concept art, and not just one piece of concept art, because it seems like every time they have an announcement, it's here's the Star Wars land at night. Here it is in day. Here it is at dusk. No, they showed new concept art. They showed a restaurant where the grill is an old pod racer engine. Awesome. Tons of new concept art. Great panel. And I believe that was actually my last panel of the convention. So great way for me to wrap up. Also, the cosplay. Guys, the cosplay is crazy awesome, from original creations to characters like Dr. Aphra and BT were they had cosplayers playing those characters. My friend Kyle at View from the Cheap Seats has a whole video of the cosplay convention. Check that out because the cosplay was amazing. The Celebration store. So the pro that I'm going to talk about before I get into the con is the Fast Pass. The fact that you could walk up, get a return time, and come back was perfect. Loved it. On the first day, it worked out great. However, if you got a Fast Pass and you came back after a certain time of the afternoon, you pretty much got nothing. There was pretty much no reason for you to go into that store at 4 o'clock or later. But the first day, we got a Fast Pass that actually got us a return time. quicker than it would have been to wait in the line to get in the store. So really big win on that. Also, the fact that they had Jilly Cakes, which is the cupcake place, in the Celebration store. Those cupcakes were awesome. The fact that they actually in the morning would come out the back door of the Celebration store and sell cupcakes, means that you didn't actually have to wait in the line to get their cupcakes. I didn't realize that until day 2, but they had 2 new flavors every day. Beautiful cupcakes, tasted great. Really, really liked them. And we'll talk about the cons of the Celebration store here in a minute. And the last thing I want to call out is the live streaming. Good on ReedPop or Disney or Lucasfilm or whoever made the decision to live stream most of the major panels. I wish they could have live streamed more of it, because I would love to go back and see some of the panels that I've missed, specifically like the Fantasy Flight Games panel. I was really bummed to have missed that, but it was either that or the Mark Hamill panel, tribute to Carrie Fisher. It was really, and even then it was a tough choice. But the fact that viewers who were unable to make it down to Florida were able to see the big panels from the comfort of their own home while they were happening, instead of hearing about it from people who were there or finding out the next day, that was fantastic. So let's talk about the cons. Funko. I gotta say, every convention I go to, Funko just does things in such a way that is frustrating. If you roll by their panel by mid-afternoon, it is just nothing but empty shelves. And in comparison with Hasbro's situation of having, yes, Hasbro had exclusive products, and yes, they had long lines, but they also had a booth with products that you could look at, and cool things, and just a huge presence. And Funko, it is just a store with empty shelves. And if you even wanted to look at it, you couldn't. You couldn't look at it. It was roped off. You could only get into the Funko store, one, if you waited 4 hours in line, and good luck, because maybe you'll get an exclusive or maybe you won't, or if you won a lottery. And don't get me wrong, I know Funko's huge, I know people like it, but they still should have some type of something to look at, and they didn't. They had a giant Chewbacca Funko, and that was it. And I gotta say, Funko, they are consistently the most disappointing booth at the cons that I go to. Those opening day lines, it took 2 hours to get into the convention center on opening day, because they were filtering everyone through 7 metal detectors. And I know at a certain time of the day, they opened up more entrances, or they gave up on the metal detectors, I don't know. But the fact of the matter is, it took forever. The line was like a half a mile long just to get in on opening day, which was a bit ridiculous. Didn't have any problems the rest of the time. But that opening day was a lesson hard learned for them. Now, that being said, on the flip side, the security, it didn't seem like they were checking badges at all. At all. In fact, as a test, we put our badges under our shirts. And we did have badges, but we put our badges under our shirts just to see if anyone would stop us. Never. Not once did anyone ask. I am not suggesting doing anything improper. I am just saying that it was surprising to me that it seemed like someone could just walk in off the street and walk straight into the convention without having purchased a pass, which just is not a good situation. So hopefully that's something they can remedy in future conventions. In addition, the Orange County Convention Center, my phone was useless. The cell signal was terrible, and I get it. Lots of people in there using the same cell signal, tweeting, live streaming, things like that. But even the Wi-Fi, it was spotty. They had Wi-Fi in certain public areas, but not even an option to purchase good Wi-Fi. It just seems like in 2017, you should have some Wi-Fi. As much as I enjoyed the Star Wars show stage and they live streamed all the major panels, and all the major actors came down to that stage. George Lucas, Harrison Ford, Mark Hamill, Forrest Whitaker, Felicity Jones, Hayden Christensen. And when I say they came down to that stage was in the middle of the show floor. There was no way to get closer to those stars unless you paid for an autograph or waited in the line than that. It was perfect, except for one thing, which is, like I said, it was in the middle of the show floor. And it seems like it probably could have just been pushed back just a little bit or a lot of it, because with all those actors on the stage, the show floor in that area got turned into a huge cluster, and it was right in front of the Celebration store, right in front of the autograph area. Every time something cool was happening, it was just a mass of people blocking up the walkways and the pathways. On top of that, they had a giant life-size TIE fighter. I mean, it was just awesome to look at, difficult to get around. I mentioned the Celebration store. While I loved the cupcakes and I loved my Dave Filoni t-shirt, I really didn't care for the merchandise this year. The only thing I bought was that Her Universe Dave Filoni t-shirt out of the Celebration store. I bought other things, as you saw. But in the actual store, the shirt designs were a little lackluster. The products ran out, but even then, I was able to get in that first day pretty early. And so all the products were on the shelves, but just nothing really exciting. I liked the key art, but not enough to dish out the money for it. So just kind of a little disappointing this year as far as the merchandise. Saved me money, but at the same time, when you're looking and you're excited, I've seen better merchandise. And in fact, like I said, the Disney store had the best merchandise. One last negative thing that I want to mention, and it kind of relates to the lines and the crowds and things like that, which is this wristband thing for the panels. I get there's a purpose to it, and I'm torn on it. I like the fact that having a wristband means I can get in a panel, and I appreciate that to a certain extent. It cuts down on the lines of getting into the panels and things like that, ish. But at the same time, they gave out the wristbands at 6 a.m. And but the show floor didn't open until 10. So basically, once you got your wristbands, you just sat there for 4 hours, unless you wanted to go back to your hotel and come back. But it just seemed like it's I don't know another way to do it. We talked to some folks out there, and one of the suggestions put out there was cheaper convention ticket with an add-on option for certain of the big panels. So if you wanted to go to the celebration panel, the 40th anniversary celebration, it's another $10 until they sell out. Or the Rebels panel or whatever panel. It's an add-on charge, and that's guaranteed seating, no problem. I gotta be honest, I kind of like that idea, because if you're not interested in the big panels, then fine. But at the same time, the casual fan cannot go to Star Wars Celebration and expect to just walk into any of these big panels. You have to plan ahead if you want to go to the Last Jedi panel, even if you wanted to see it on a screen. But if you wanted to go in that room where Rian Johnson is unveiling the trailer, you had to be there at 7 o'clock the night before, and that just seems like a recipe for... I know it's great fan fun to camp out overnight with people of mutual love for the genre and for Star Wars, but it just seems like it gets away from the concept of Star Wars, which is an all-inclusive family atmosphere. And I saw people there with their kids overnight, and that's just not, what I want to see. I want to see people enjoying Star Wars the way it's meant to be enjoyed. And so, I don't know the way to fix that, but, the wristband thing worked out positive for me in some aspects, negative for me in others. So, I don't know the way to fix it, but it seems like something that should be corrected for future conventions. So, there really is nothing like Star Wars Celebration. Despite the fact that I mentioned some cons, as you can see, the cons, took away from some enjoyment, but not a ton. I had a blast. I loved seeing Kyle and his family. I loved hanging out with you guys down there in Star Wars Celebration. I hope you guys really enjoyed it too. I hope you like checking out the videos. I learned so much stuff. I saw so much cool stuff. It is an experience that is unforgettable, and despite getting frustrated and grumpy and tired and waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning and sitting in line for 4 hours just to get in and waiting in lines and all that, it's thousands upon thousands upon thousands of Star Wars fans, and that is just, you go to Comic-Con and you get Vampire Diaries or Buffy or Supernatural or Wonder Woman or Justice League. You get fans of all kinds. Here, it is thousands upon thousands of Star Wars fans, all with the same love for the same thing. and that is just a cool experience. And so there's nothing like it. It's truly a family-friendly environment. You're not going to go to a panel where someone's cussing up a storm. At least not at this one. I think there have been others where Kevin Smith or something maybe. I don't know. But it is, you got Disney. You have everyone there showing their best, putting their best foot forward. Great, interesting panels. Great merchandise. Great fun. Thank you to Reed Pop and Lucasfilm for having us out. For the use of the footage and the imagery that they've provided. Some of the, the nice footage and videos that they've provided have been really great to share with you guys. We're looking forward to the next Star Wars Celebration. They're skipping 2018, but they'll be back in 2019. We'll hopefully be there, and hopefully you guys will too. Thank you guys for watching. Subscribe to the channel. We have weekly videos coming. Tons of cool stuff coming. We're going to be at Six Flags next month. We're going to be back in Florida next month. There's so much stuff coming over these next couple months. You're gonna want to be tuned here. So thanks again. See you guys next time.